Hello and welcome to a report from the climate crisis. My name is Kameel Nasr. We broadcast every other week and we talk about something new in the world of climate. Today I have the great pleasure of having Maria Rudzinsky and we're going to talk about her work, her life. We're going to talk a lot about one of my favorite subjects, which is composting, which you know a lot about. But first, Maria, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kameel.
So tell me, how did you become involved in issues of climate or spirituality? Or tell me a little about your life. You grew up in this area, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I grew up in Melrose, Massachusetts, which is just about 20 minutes north of Boston. And I now live in Wakefield. I've been there for 30 years. And it's the next town over, so I haven't moved far, but I have traveled quite a bit. And I love to experience through the lens of mindfulness or how to be aware in the present moment of what's happening in my life.
Yeah, and you had an experience, you don't mind me talking about your experience in MS. You were diagnosed with MS about 18 years ago or so.
I was diagnosed.
And you look in great form now.
Thank you.
What's your secret? Tell us about your journey.
Thank you so much for saying that. Yes, it's my pleasure to talk about it. I say now that I was blessed with MS because I feel it brought a lot of awareness to me about dis-ease in the body and discomfort in the body and how stress can really wreak havoc on our own body in so many ways. And when we become aware of how the stress can really affect us, we become more curious about it. So I went into a mind-body stress reduction program to learn more about the dis-ease 18 years ago when I was diagnosed and realized there's a lot that I can do for myself. And it started me on this spiritual journey. I had already been interfaith with my husband was Jewish and he's Jewish and I raised my children Jewish and I was raised Christian, but I've since then been studying Buddhism and I've been to a mosque. I like to experience the different interfaith and theologies. So it brings me to this place where all spirituality is connected. And I like to study the similarities rather than differences because that's what divides us.
That's what unites us. Yes.
The differences divide us, but the similarities unite us.
Right.
The differences can unite us also, yes, of course, but we need to see what is similar in the heart.
Could I ask you,
Please.
You think MS is partly environmental? It's caused by the environment as well as by genetics, or what?
Well, so I was out in the world doing all this, trying to figure out about stress and the neuroscience in the brain and all that. But I've also, one of the causes that they said was environmental chemicals and just the toxins that we breathe in that are in the environment. There's nothing we can do about them. They come from our fuel. They come from different things that we know. Just our food. I started thinking about my food. What am I eating and how is it packaged and what chemicals are also in my food that I've been eating that I don't know.
Yes.
And so I really started doing a lot of research. I found this group, overcomingmultiplesclerosis.org in Australia, had a special diet, and I started eating differently, no meat, no dairy.
Yeah, excellent.
So much more of a vegan choice.
Right, excellent choice.
And it's helped.
Yeah.
It's helped a lot. I mean, once you have one of those itis, multiple sclerosis, which is an inflammation of the nerves and inflammation of different things in the body. The inflammation is in the body. It just is going to continue to show up in different areas.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, that's interesting. And your health choice, with being a vegetarian towards vegan, is also an environmentally wise choice because, as we know, cows, especially sheep and other animal livestock, they really destroy the environment as well as not particularly being very good for the animals themselves. So you became part of this group, Rolling Ridge. You gave me this brochure, which I haven't been, which is up on the North Shore. Can you tell me a little about it, where it came from? Is it a Christian organization? What does it tell us? It's a retreat center.
Sure. Rolling Ridge is a beautiful retreat center in North Andover, Mass. There's a beautiful lake there and some labyrinths, and it was Christian based a long time ago. It's Methodist right now, but the people there that are running it are so open, and we are creating an eco-spiritual center, an eco-center where we believe that all people are welcome from all different cultures and faiths and genders, and everyone is, as we like to say, our mission now is going to be radical inclusivity of whoever wants to come. We want you to come and share, and we want to share the property that we have there, and the retreat center and programs. So I found it, and I felt so at home because they were doing Christian contemplation work through Richard Rohr, who is a Franciscan, and it's part of the spiritual nature. We do a program called Worship in the Woods, which is you go out and you connect with nature, and nature can help us to connect with the divine spirit within us. And I feel that's another whole part of spirituality that's missing from our world. We're too busy. We're too busy in our world trying to make money and go to work and work, and we don't have time to spend outside in nature.
Yes.
And when we're doing the composting program, so we teach a conscious composting program.
Yes.
6 weeks. Actually, it's once a month. We started it back in April, I believe, and May, June, July, August, September, October. So maybe it was May, but the last class is going to be this Saturday, and we're going to teach people how to close it up for the winter.
So now, why do you call it conscious composting as opposed to composting, which is what most people do, right?
It's because we want it to become a spiritual, not so much a spiritual, but we want people to be conscious about what they're doing with their compost, because it is important to turn over this muck and turn over the dirt and turn over the soil, but we need the nitrogen, the carbon, the hydrogen, and the air and water, because that's what makes all of the waste become beautiful soil again. So if we're regenerating the soils and we're doing it consciously, then we keep an eye on it. We know when it needs water. We know when it needs some more leaves, and the leaves need to be, we've experimented the whole year at Rolling Ridge with windrows, which are really long piles.
What are they called?
A windrow. It's a long pile of dirt.
Yes.
And grass and clippings, and we keep turning it and mixing it together. If we don't, it just becomes clumpy, and it doesn't it doesn't process as well. And through experience, we've learned that turning over all this muck and the water and adding coffee grinds, which help it break down so much. Little food scraps that we cut down very little, because then that helps it to regenerate quicker.
And you go out and get coffee grinds from cafes, which I think is just a wonderful idea, instead of going into the garbage, into landfill or wherever people dispose their coffee grinds. And it's good. Coffee grinds is good to make acidic soil, right?
It's great, yes. It's beautiful, and it can help balance and break down. When we do go to the Cumberland Farms up the street and get the buckets of the coffee grinds, the workers there really enjoy it because they feel like they're also giving back to the earth. And it's a process where we can, the more people that we can include, the better it is.
Yeah, excellent. What we're talking about now is a place called Rolling Ridge, which is in the Lowell area, Andover, Lowell area, and it looks like a beautiful retreat center. And we're talking about gardening and natural gardening and composting. So let me ask you, Marie, do you believe that we should turn the soil, as opposed, there's a belief, it was prevalent in California, that we shouldn't turn the soil, we should just let it stay the same. But you believe that we should turn it in order to regenerate it, right?
Well, I think that we should turn it a little bit, but I don't think we should be digging it up. No, I feel like the ground coverings and the leaves that we have, the leaves that fall from the trees, those should become mulch, and then those are mixed with the grass clippings, and then those are big piles, and then we mix that in with the dirt, the soil. But I don't think we should turn it with big.
Oh, really? With a rototiller type of thing?
No, because that can damage the bugs, which the bugs are really important also, and the root systems and everything that's already there is really important. I do believe we should turn some of the soil,
yes,
but not really dig deep down, because it can, and it's also when there's, in the spring, when there's a lot more growth and these bugs are still growing and new growth, new birth is coming to life, we can damage it.
Yeah. So, but in the compost, though, you have to keep turning it over.
Yes.
And there's a wonderful phenomenon, because I compost, and there's a wonderful phenomenon is you feel the heat of it, don't you? That's, and you know it's working. I don't know the chemical process that takes place. You have this, so you were talking a little before about the interconnectedness between us and the earth and the soil, and the different religious experiences. Talk a little bit more about that, because what you were saying to me earlier was really beautiful.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, thanks. I feel like when we turn over the muck in the dirt, and we turn over the waste, and we have this beautiful helping giving garden where they grow food, and they give 90% of it goes to the marginalized towns around Lawrence and Lowell and people that need food, and 10% goes back to the retreat center. And then we take the waste from the retreat center that we don't use, we cut it up small, put it back into the piles of dirt, and we mix it with the leaves and the grass, and we add water, and we keep track of the temperature. It gets up to 120 degrees. We see the steam, but when we turn it, we can feel that we are working with the earth. The earth feeds us. Yeah. It gives us our food, but it needs us to take care of it in order for it to do its own work and its own beautiful process of growing the food in better ways. And so when we put our new composting this year onto the garden vegetables, so loved it. They were so beautiful, and they were so much greener and richer and better, and we could tell it came from all organic. Yeah. There's no pesticides that we use. We don't try and make it look so green. It is what it is, but we work at it. And turning this waste, to me, is a similar process that we do with ourselves when we get into trouble or we have troubles of suffering and loss maybe of somebody that's dear to us. It's a grieving process we need to go through, and there's parts of this suffering that we need to go through in order to turn our own muck and turn ourselves over to see that there is a rebirth and beauty within each parts of the pain that we go through, and the parts of the seasons that change and die every year. I mean, we're in fall season, so the winter's going to come along, and then in spring there'll be rebirth.
Right.
So it's a nice time for us to connect with the earth in this way that we also can too.
That's right. Yeah, and so protecting the environment is also protecting ourselves. It's also getting more in touch with ourselves. You're part of a group that I'm part of, but you were part of a long time ago, that sits on the steps in Central Square on the post office with signs. We sit there meditating, and
do.
it's just a few people. You were one of the earlier members. You've been doing it like for 3 years. Tell me, how did you come about this, and what's it all about, and so on?
Well, it's interesting. I've traveled a lot, and I was with some Buddhist teachers out in safari, in the desert. I mean, traveling in South Africa and in the bush, and noticing the interconnection of the animals to us, and noticing the interconnection of everything, the trees that breathe and give us oxygen and give us this gift of our own breath, right? Now I'm like, wow, I need to help the earth in a better way, and how come people don't know about this? And I met with this group, this woman, Vicky, from Cambridge, who I love, and she runs Awakening for Earth, and we got together, a bunch of people, and created this group and said, let's go meditate. If Greta Thunberg is meditating and trying to bring awareness to the climate crisis, why can't we do this?
Yes.
So we started 3 years ago, and we've been showing up there. And I don't go every week because I'm so busy doing other things now, but there was a time we would show up every Sunday, and people still are showing up.
Right.
And sometimes it's at 11 o'clock in the morning during the winter months, and then in the summer months it's later because the sun is too hot. But we show up, we sit there with our signs, we hand out a flyer, and we try to educate people that this is important for the climate awareness, to know that we do need help. We need to make changes in our own ways that we live, using less plastic, just recycling more, and
Becoming aware.
Becoming aware
of what's going on in the world. Awaken the Earth. Yeah, there's a beautiful movement, you go back and forth. You live up in near the Rolling Ridge area.
I really live in between Rolling Ridge and here in Cambridge, so I'm always in between, but I love both areas. I love just doing the work that I get to do. I also go to a spring where they were trying to plow through a natural spring in Linfield called Coldwater Springs, but it's now Pocahontas Springs, and they were going to tear it down, but they have now recently saved that also. So there's all these projects that I'm involved in, and
Yes.
I love to show up for Awakening for Earth. I really do feel that people do walk by and notice.
Yeah. So we also were talking a little earlier about how in a forest the roots of all the trees are connected, and they talk to each other through the mycelia and fungi in the soils, and they nurture each other, and they look out. There's danger. They look out for danger. That's part of like us.
Yes.
We have an interconnectedness as well. Don't you think? Are we connected to the forest? Are we connected to trees? Are we? Do you think?
I totally believe we are.
Yeah.
That I definitely know that we are connected with them. I mean, if we don't, as in my mindfulness programs that I teach, and we think about the trees, and they give us the breath, right? The oxygen to breathe. If we didn't have the trees, and they weren't rooted together, and they didn't give us oxygen, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
So we are very reliant on the trees
On
for
the
our
tree.
air.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I call it the breath of life. It's a gift that we have.
Yeah, so the trees give us oxygen. Actually, the trees could live very well without us. Plants can live very well without us, but we cannot live without them. We're interconnected, and I think the part of the equation that's we fall short on is the oceans. The oceans are the biggest part of the system. So there's the atmosphere, the ocean, the land. And the ocean is by far the biggest. And the cycle of the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, the water cycle.
Yes, we're actually trying to create an eco-spirituality center so that we have the Tinker Garden for younger kids, programs that run there. And there's also so many opportunities for people to go and connect with the earth. You can see the roots, actually, the root systems, how they're all connected at Rolling Ridge, because there's woods there and there's these paths, and there's so much there that shows us the interconnection. There's actually 2 bald eagles that live there.
Oh, really?
On
Wow.
the property,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
and a buck who goes running across all the time. There's animal life there that we can see that is present, that shows us that the earth
Yeah.
is still doing its work, and the more that we offer and do good work there,
Yeah.
then the better.
You know, there's another thing that's happening is that the animals are adapting to city life.
Yeah.
So there's more wild animals in the city. They're adapting to us. We're adapting to them. We see this around here, where there are wild turkeys that wander the streets, and everybody and geese, and everybody has to stop for them. There's many more raccoons, and no shortage of squirrels, and coyotes, and all kinds of animals. They're adapting to the system, and I think it's good, because it makes us part of nature. Because in a city we try to asphalt everything and pretend that we're not part of nature.
Yeah, right? Paved paradise to put up the parking lot.
Yeah.
But I feel like they have no choice, because they don't have a choice to say they don't want to have a parking lot in their house anymore.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
And then we pave over their land, and then where are they going to go? So they have to adapt.
They have to adapt, right? They have to adapt, and so you became a vegetarian, and that was good for your health. Yeah.
Yes, it was very good for my health. I like to call it a pescatarian now, because I do eat the fish, and I'm supposed to eat a lot of fish for the omega-3s, which help to, just keep the toxins out of the body, or they actually balance. And the omega-3s are great. So I eat a lot of salmon and fish, but also no meat. No, I try to eat a very low saturated fat diet, low fat diet. I don't eat grease. I don't eat sugar, because sugar causes inflammation, and then that causes a lot of havoc in the body. But I had ulcerative colitis a long time ago, and there are no signs of that. And my doctor said to me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, well, I changed my diet." And then he said, "Good for you." And then that's a definite repercussion of the
Well, I'll give you another source of omega-3. It's chia seeds.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a really good source, and a few other seeds as well.
Flaxseed.
What is it?
Flaxseed.
Flax seeds. I put flax and chia seeds in my smoothie when I make in the morning. And a lot of people who are afraid of vegetarianism think that you're not getting enough protein, but you get a lot of protein.
Yes, there's plenty.
And
I eat a lot of egg whites. I don't eat the yolks, but egg whites I eat, and beans and legumes and all of that. There's plenty of protein.
So I think about right now people are collecting leaves all over, and I think about they're composting them, right? I don't know what they do with all the leaves, but that's right up your alley. Wouldn't you like to have all those leaves and let them sit for a couple of years, and they become really good dirt, right?
It all depends, because if they've been putting pesticides on their lawn,
I see.
and if there's, environmentally, I don't know. I do like my leaves, because I know where they come from, and so I'll mulch my own leaves, and I like the ones at Rolling Ridge. I know they're not using the chemicals, but it's part of it all. I mean, if we use chemicals, the chemicals going to go back into the earth. If we
I see, yeah.
But
right.
I do like the leaves, and then a lot of times people bring them to, they put them in the big paper bags and bring them to their dump, and the dumps will process them, and you can go get the dirt there later.
Yes, that's right.
And
yes,
so that's a good way to also do the compost if you can't do it in your own yard. But then I question, well, do I want to put that dirt on my,
So in a compost, what are the ingredients? So there's organic matter, dirt, a little manure, right? If you can get it.
yeah,
And
you can,
and then you turn it over, and how long does it take?
well, it usually takes a whole season before you start seeing the beautiful dirt.
Yeah.
But, it depends on if you really cut up your vegetables and you're really, the waste really small. And if you put some coffee grinds and you can speed up the process a little bit, but it really takes going there every day and turning it every day and making sure you're on top of it.
All right. Well, we're coming to the end. Maria Rudzinsky, it's so great to have you and to talk about matters physical and spiritual. This is a report from the climate crisis. I'm Kameel Nasr, and we urge you to be green. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, compost.